Happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavic. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsperson and an entrepreneur to answer any of your questions. So for homeowners and DIYers, this is the largest, most professional community of pros, craftspeople, paint business entrepreneurs you're ever going to find. Ask us anything. If I don't have the answers, these people watching and commenting do. Also for pros, you can ask anything you want here. We can talk business, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship, finding good people, coding science, systems, processes, all that good stuff. So we are almost at the 3-year point for the Ask a Painter show. This is episode number 155. We're fast approaching the 3-year mark of all this stuff. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you everybody for watching. It's been a weekly show. I've not missed one in almost 3 years. It's a very special milestone coming up for me as far as that goes. Today's show is an Ask Me Anything show, an AMA show. So I'm in the shop today. You can ask anything you guys have ever wanted to ask. Also, the PDCA Contractor Question of the Week has to deal with sprayer maintenance. So I thought, why not get the best case, the best reason I can come up with for maintaining a sprayer, which is what I think is about an 18-year-old sprayer. I found this in my dad's garage, frozen. I'll tell you the story about it later, but we still use this 18-year-old Titan Epic series, and it works flawlessly. The key is maintenance. So the PDCA Contractor Question of the Week deals with maintenance, and I'm going to show you how to maintain this so that it'll work forever. So again, Ask Me Anything show. You guys can tap in your comments down below. Kindest thing you could do for a show like this is to share it. I'm going to walk you through first on how to clean this thing out. So the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, underwrite this show. They use this show for education content on their website, which I'm very grateful for. Our core values and our mission closely aligns. We want to show people that there's opportunity in the trades. We want to take the people that are currently in the trades and make them more professional, raise the standards of everybody. So their Contractor Question of the Week, which they send in every week, deals with sprayer maintenance, any tips and tricks on how we maintain sprayers. And I'll say this first. No better example than a very old sprayer. These things, if you maintain them, they'll last forever. If you don't, if you slack off on maintenance, immediately witchy things start happening. They just stop working. Nobody really knows why, but magically, if you clean them all out, they work for a long time. So the biggest tip or trick I can give you about sprayer maintenance is just clean them out well. I've had some sprayers that I purchased 10 years ago in my business. I've never repacked them. I've never gone in there and done any maintenance besides just cleaning them out very well. And honestly, they work great. So if you just get the old paint out, clean out the filters very well, and then charge them with thinner every time, that's probably the single best thing you can do for your sprayer. Now, obviously, you can do a lot more, but as paint business owners, as entrepreneurs and craftspeople, we want to spend our time helping clients. We don't necessarily want to spend all our time doing this stuff. So I'm going to walk you through the quick and dirty way that I sort of clean up these sprayers. And with this method, if you do this to a brand new sprayer, you can get tons of years of service without repacking every year and doing all this other stuff. So we have little laminated cheat sheets for cleaning out the sprayers here, just as a reminder to all the apprentices in the company here. We have some beautiful hunter green enamel charged up in this one here, and I am going to lower this and I'm going to walk you through my process very quickly. So, like I said, give or take 18-year-old Titan Epic series. I found this one in my father's garage. It had what I believe to be thinner in it. When I fired it up, let me just move this up for a second. When I fired it up, it had nasty brown, rusty sort of stuff, smelled like paint thinner. I assumed that he had put paint thinner in it. It probably sat there for 10 years, maybe 8 or 10 years. I took it out, I plugged it in, I got the thinner out of it, I put new thinner in it, and everything worked good. And obviously there was a little sediment in the filters here, but that just goes to show you that 8 to 10 freezing Minnesota winters sitting in a garage, the spray gun still worked, the hose wasn't clogged up or anything else, and yeah, I basically just put it back into service here. So about a year after that, I did decide for safety reasons that we were going to change out the sprayer hose because it's under high pressure, and then I just took it in for a repacking just because I wanted it to operate at optimal speed. But I think I've only repacked 2 of all the sprayers we own, and we probably own a good 9 or 10 sprayers in this company. So with good maintenance, they'll go forever. Number 1, we have beautiful hunter green enamel in here right now. And task number 1 is get the old paint out. So what we're gonna do is take the spray tip out here. And I've already taken off the rock catcher on this one here to save us a little time. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna put pressure on the gun. We're gonna take the siphon out, and we're basically just gonna shoot as much of this enamel back into this can as we can. So I have the trigger down, so the pressure is not that high. I'm just gonna turn the sprayer on, and we're gonna purge as much of the coating out as we can. Now you can see it's just barely trickling out of the hose. What I'm going to do is toggle the selector back between cycling through the pump and here, just to get out any last little bits of paint. Okay, so that's about as much paint as we're going to get out of this thing right now. You know that there's still probably a pint of paint either in the line or through here, but we got the most of it out so we're not contaminating our wash water. So I use kind of a 2-bucket method here of water. We're going to take our first bucket and we're going to clean off the hose ends here. So we have our enamel right away so we don't contaminate it. Capped off, ready to go. I'm just going to swish these around, get some paint off them here. All right, so we got the bulk of the paint off of these things now. So 2 steps in whether you're going to use a sprayer for spraying or cleaning it out. It basically has 2 cycles. You want to get paint going through the pump, and then you want to get paint going through the hose down here. First step is to get out any air bubbles and paint here. So we're just going to do the first can is basically going to try to knock off all or the majority of the paint in the sprayer. So we got the selector lever to go cycle in through here. What we'll do here is slop. I'm going to see if we can purge out a little bit of this paint. Okay, so we got green paint water coming through it now. What I'm going to do is turn it on and for maybe 5 to 10 seconds just let it cycle a little bit. Okay, so now we have fairly clean, still contaminated water running through the pump here. What we're going to do then is do the same thing through the line. So we have our line here. I got trigger down so that we don't get a big explosion in the can, and I'm basically going to cycle the pump same way. Now you can see that there's an air bubble through here, and if you've purged your machine well, that air bubble is just going to take a couple minutes to get through the gun. Okay, because there's no water coming out of this thing, there might still be an air bubble left somewhere in here, so I'm going to switch it back over and see if I can get the air bubble out. have been just another air bubble stuck in here. You saw the cough. The cough is the air bubbles coming out. Now I'm just going to cycle this for maybe, I don't know, 10 to 30 seconds, give or take, just to try to get the bulk of the paint out. And this will be slop can number 1. We will switch it over for another clean bucket of water. Okay, just letting all the rest of that paint water come out of there. So slop bucket number 1 will go away. And we will get slop bucket number 2. Now at this point, what I do is I clean out the filters in both the machine and the gun. Most of the time when people keep running bucket and bucket and bucket of water through one of these machines and it still isn't getting clean, odds are there's a bunch of paint trapped in the filter on the machine and there's a filter in the gun as well. So I'm just going to make sure that I trigger this into the can so there's no pressure. All right, so we will take out the filter here. This is the step that most people forget to do or just are too lazy to do, but it's a big, big part of maintaining your sprayer and making sure it's clean and it functions well. So, filter here. What I do is basically just shake it out. You can see that plenty clean. This filter was probably replaced in the last 6 months here, so it hasn't got too caked up yet. So basically you just get the chunks off it like this. If there is a bunch of caked up stuff from use, just use a nylon bristle brush, kind of clean it off like this. Put this guy back in here. Gun goes back on. All right, we got a clean filter on the gun. Let's clean up my work area a little bit here. Okay. Now we'll do the machine. I'll see if I can move this around enough so you guys can see. Now with this old Epic, Titan Epic, what you'll see is that it's a tiny little filter. Maybe I'll move this up here. It's a tiny little filter back here. And usually with just taking this off hand tight, most of the newer sprayers have a much bigger filter, which I appreciate. It gives you a little more capacity. So, get rid of any leftovers in there. Now a lot of these are, depending on the sprayer and the year, you're going to get either a right hand, a left hand, or a friction. So this one, we'll see what we got here. So this one screws out, clean it up. It's got a little bit of caked on paint, nothing too bad. Then we will slide this guy back on there. Now, clean out the housing too. On these smaller housings, there's not that much paint caught in here, but when you have the really big housings, sometimes there can be a lot of paint left in there. So I just shake it out. If you do have some paint you feel that is down in there, smaller end of the bristle brush like that. Oh, looks pretty clean. Filter housing goes back on. And like I said, I like to keep these hand tight so that you can change them in the field without a bunch of tools. So now, clean filter in the gun, clean filter in the machine, and now we're ready to just cycle this paint through, this paint water through, and clean the rest of the paint out in there. So, all right, so we'll charge the machine first because I'm sure we've introduced an air bubble through here, and then I'll switch over the machine and go to line pressure. Let's give my work area a little clean here. Okay. so at this point, the green water lets you show you that there's still some contamination in there. When you use white water, the water actually looks, or white paint, the stuff actually looks pretty clean. So now what we're gonna do is basically get as much of this green paint water out of here. There will be a little bit left in there, but to me, that's not a big deal. You could go through 10 buckets like this and get crystal clear drinking water. I've not found a big difference in that. So now what we do is get as much of this out of here as we can, and then we charge it with thinner. And then basically the system is probably 96% clean. It's charged with thinner, and this is a 5-minute process from start to finish if I don't have to sit here and explain it. And people will say, yes, you can get these cleaner. You can absolutely get these things cleaner, but it could take you 10 or 15 minutes, and any barrier that you put or any resistance you put in this process, somebody's gonna stop doing this. So what I say is better to take 5 minutes and be 96% good than take 15 minutes and be 100, or not do it at all and say, well, it's too difficult or something like that, so we just won't do it, and then your sprayer stops working. So now what we're gonna do, we pull the siphon out like this. The thing is still on line pressure, and what we do is hold the trigger down before you start it, turn it on, and you'll probably get about half the paint water out of the line. So we got trigger down, lines out of the water here. So you can see the cough at the end. We basically have all the water out of here. In my estimation, a lot of these, between the sprayers, the filters, and the line, there's probably a quart of paint sitting in here somewhere. So a lot of the times, if you're only working with a gallon of paint, saving that stuff like we did at the start can be worth a lot of money. And it can also save you the cost of getting another gallon of paint for touch-up. So now basically, we have a 96% clean machine. Most of the paint water is out of here. We're gonna charge it with thinner. And I will pop this up for a second. So lots of things you can do for these machines. I've used antifreeze in the past. Antifreeze is fine. With the glycol and stuff though, you might run into some contamination issues with your other coatings, so we stopped using that. I used to use a very light mixture of water and antifreeze. A lot of the companies, Titan and Graco, they come with pump armor or other Armor Seal, things like that you can dilute with water and put in here. That's fine too. But again, this costs money, and you got to go out of your way to get it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just using thinner or mineral spirits in there like that. Everybody has this in their shop. It's 10 bucks a gallon, 8 bucks a gallon at a contractor price, give or take. There's always some laying around, and it's great antifreeze, and it's great lubricant too for the machines. So, pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to get one more slop can, and then we're going to charge this thing with thinner. Okay, last slop can here. We're going to put a little thinner in here, and we're basically going to charge the machine with that. So I will bring another little slop bucket here. You only need maybe a quart, just over a quart, give or take. And if you guys have any questions, any comments, whatever else, please type them down below. Share the show if you like it. The kindest thing you can do for it. All right, slop here. I'm going to run my tip through the sprayer real quick just to clean that out, make sure we did a good job with that. So low pressure. We got line pressure going on now. We are going to we're going to get some thinner going through here. So slop here in case any green water comes out again. I'll turn this down for you guys here quick. difference when the green water came out, and this stuff is basically, I mean, almost crystal clear thinner at this point. So yes, there's a little bit of green left in here, but it's so minimal and it does not affect the next set of coatings. So we got the sprayer in here, and again, triggered already. And I think we'll go into the slop bucket just in case there's any wet stuff in there. So very lightly. You can hear it coughing a little bit, some air bubbles working their way out. What I'm going to do is we've now worked thinner through this way. I want to make sure we reverse the tip. Do the same thing. All right, so we're good there. Tip is clean, ready to go. Wipe off a little excess paint. Give it a little swish. So there, basically perfectly clean thinner coming out of that thing there. Even though we didn't go through 10 gallons of water, I think we probably went through about, you know, maybe a gallon of contaminated water first. You can probably do it in as little as half a gallon. Same thing with the second rinse bucket. So really between 1 and 2 gallons of water, you should be able to clean out one of these things. And the reason that's important is because you can't just dump this stuff down the drain. You put it in a big slop bucket and you recycle it then too. So you want to keep it down. If you're using 10 gallons of water for every sprayer that comes through your shop, you're wasting a lot of water and you're going to have a lot of contaminated stuff to recycle after. So yeah, like I said, basically crystal clear thinner going through this. Now, this is safe to put in a work van in winter here in Minnesota. It's not going to freeze like this. Certainly wouldn't recommend it, but if you did leave one in there, it wouldn't be a problem. Also lubricated so that next time when you open one of these up to use them, it's all ready to go. Same thing, just get the thinner out and keep going. So, all right, let's see if we got any questions, comments here. Thank you everybody for watching here. And yeah, so 52 episodes a year times 3 years. We're right there at about 156 episodes will be my 3-year anniversary. So of not missing a show. So thank you guys very much. Thank you to the PDCA, the Painting and Decorating Contractors of America, for underwriting the show and sharing it and providing a lot of content, sharing this content as well. A bunch of interesting things going on. Next week, I will actually be going to the headquarters of PDCA, and I'm going to be filming my master's class, The Modern Apprenticeship. So there is the biggest problem in the industry now is not getting leads. It's not a lot of processes and systems. I think people know how to do that. Coding science is pretty dialed in. The problem is right now nobody can find good people. In a small way, we have basically solved that issue in my company. Actually, an apprentice just popped his head in now. He's going to do some sprayer maintenance here today on a Friday. So yeah, so I'm going to film that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I feel like we should get it out there to start helping some other contractors. So I want to put a polished version out there in video format for people to share. I've been giving it live for about a year and a half now to contractors, but I really feel that the material and the data that I've collected and presented has actual action items in them. Unlike a lot of other sort of stuff in the industry where it's more, hey, you need to try harder, you need to find good people, you need to do this. There's no action items with that. I've actually come up with a way for action items and ways to see through the process. So let's see, Kathy, your videos are much needed and greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Alex, thanks for the video. Absolutely. So thank you everybody for doing this. Again, I never let perfection stand in the way of really, really, really good. Most people will say, well, I need to sit here with 40 gallons of water and clean this. I'm going to take the whole machine apart. We're going to clean it. We all know that that's not going to happen every time on every job site with every apprentice. So what I say is better to do it really, really good all the time than do perfect once or twice a year and then have to repack all these machines or get on a site and something doesn't work here. So John Harrell, I've been using apprentices for almost 8 months. and it's been great. You're an inspiration. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So everybody, look forward to the videotape version of the master's class. Again, not sure how I'm going to get it out there to people. We'll find a way. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sharing this show. And as always, I'll be on here after. If you guys have any questions about sprayer maintenance, about coating science, about business in general, I'm happy to talk with you guys. So have a good weekend, a nice long extended weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.